let's talk books. You read, right? Please tell me you read. If you're not reading, we have a problem because reading is good for you. Like really good for you. Not only for cognitive ability, and there's some studies to show, aka me reading the 4-Hour Workweek, that if you read before bed, you can sleep better, especially if it's nonfiction. But all jokes aside, I'm going to tell you the two things that I do when I read that makes a huge impact on my productivity in business. Number one, annotate and capture what matters to me in these books that I read. So first and foremost, there are going to be a lot of really impactful quotes. And I think writing all over a good book and seeing what really made an impact on your life when you're using it or listening to it on Audible or reading it on your Kindle can really change the way that you feel about the book and can really change what you actually get out of the book. If you're just reading a piece of content or listening to a piece of content, you're not getting anything out of it unless you do something about it. And the first step in taking action on what's in the book is writing down any ideas you get from it and jotting down any notes that you have about it. And then from there, the most important thing is you need to make a post-book action plan. Now you can do this while you're also reading the book through the capturing ideas, but a perfect example of this was from Atomic Habits, where Chance and I read the book on our podcast as a review, and we decided we were going to take some steps in building habits with the practices and tricks that were found within Atomic Habits, because I don't remember the book quite as clearly as when I read it a year ago, but I remembered it very clearly when I had just read it. So when it's very fresh in your mind, what you can do is you can take some action items like creating new habits from Atomic Habits and do that. So for example, I figured out using the cue, craving, response, reward framework, some habits that I wanted to build and how I was going to make it happen. For example, I wanted to get better at sleep, journal, read, and meditate. So I decided to utilize habit stacking along with cue, craving, response, reward. So the cue began when I put my headphones in before I was going to bed. So I'd put my headphones in and put a sleep playlist on, which I would listen to while I was brushing my teeth. And then further upon that, I would then lay down and do a light meditation. I would open up a book that was fiction on my Kindle. I would read it, and then I would feel like I needed to fall asleep, and I'd fall asleep very easily. And I get such good sleep out of this that every time I see my headphones on my dresser or my book on my pillow, I get the cue, I get the craving, I do the response, and I get the reward of a great night's sleep again. And for somebody who wakes up as early as I do, those really good night's sleeps are important, because if I don't get that sleep, I don't like myself on those days, because I get this thing called the singe. I literally give it a nickname because of how often I had it prior to this. I'll get this singe in my head that makes me feel like I'm in mental pain. I'll get like a fiery singe in my head. It sounds really bad. But utilizing the post-book read action plan, I was able to get that pretty much omitted when I managed to do my night routine properly, and I do it early enough. Another example of this is we decided to make a vision statement based off what we learned from The Infinite Game right after reading it. So The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek is about the difference between finite and infinite games that exist in business and in life. And a big part of this book talks about having a truly value-based mission and vision statement at your company. So we wrote a vision statement during a podcast episode where we were talking about The Infinite Game. And by doing that, I've actually found some great success in creating more value-based products and impactful content, because that is my main focus now when I'm making videos or doing client work or creating products. I care the most about making the work as valuable to the consumer as possible, because that vision statement was there. And if it wasn't for me immediately utilizing the books I've read and taking action on them, and then building the habit into my life or building the principle into my life, I will not feel good about reading the book. A common misconception about self-help or business books is that they're a waste of time. They just make you feel good in the moment, and then afterwards doesn't mean anything. Problem is, the people who are saying that haven't tried the post-action book step. They haven't tried making a post-book action plan where they literally do something based off of the advice. Now, if you can't find anything to do with it, it was a bad book. And to be frank, it was probably a waste of time outside of the fact that you now know that you don't need that kind of advice anymore. Try this out the next time you're reading a book, whether it be on productivity, business, or self-help, or self-care. And also do it with videos like this one on how to improve your productivity and business even more.